This right here is the biggest reason why you should go all in on AI in 2026. So, I was listening to a podcast earlier by a guy called Timothy Armu, and basically he sold his marketing agency for, I think it was multi seven figures, maybe even eight figures. Um, and he said the number one reason why was because of this skill gap. And it's the reason why, kind of, in these days, if you're starting a marketing agency, it's very difficult to see any traction. However, it's also the reason why it's such an exciting time to be in the world of AI. It works a little bit like this. So back in 2016, marketing agencies took off, right? And we saw a lot of entrepreneurs make a lot of money in this time, like Iman Gadzhi, the whole SMMA thing, Charlie Morgan. We're talking like 2016 onwards. But yeah, Iman, Charlie Morgan, obviously this guy Timothy, not Daniel Priestley, Stephen Bartlett as well, made loads of money during this time with a marketing agency, going to businesses and saying like, look, we're going to manage your Instagram, we're going to manage your YouTube, we're going to help with your ads, things like that. Why? Well, because at that time, anybody who was on socials, they had a degree of knowledge. And if we think about this graph as being skill level, we had lots of like young entrepreneurs over here, right? Because they knew a lot about social media, and they could go to business owners and say, hey, look, we're going to help you with all this, we're experts on this, because their knowledge was much more over here, like in terms of the skill level. They knew they needed to be online, they knew they needed to be on social media, but they needed somebody to help them go from here to here. So obviously during this time there was a lot of opportunity, but what we saw, especially in the last couple of years, is that whenever you have kind of an expert, anybody with a lot of skill level in social media, that's great. However, the average kind of entrepreneur, most entrepreneurs these days, have a lot more knowledge on on social media and how to grow and that they need to grow and stuff. They either have somebody in house, or they just know they know what the deal is with social media. So the skill gap is a lot smaller, and because of that, oftentimes if you have an SMMA right now, kind of the amount you can charge is a lot lower. It's because you're like a commodity right now, right? Like there's no skill gap. However, the exciting thing is this is a generational opportunity to be an online business, because in the same way that in 2016 the skill gap in kind of social media marketing agency was huge, we have an even bigger gap now with the whole AI stuff. Because if you have any kind of amount of knowledge of Claude, maybe you're using Cowork, you've got a second brain, you're using Obsidian, using Claude Code, that puts you instantly massively over here in terms of skill level and skill knowledge. And so many entrepreneurs, especially digital online, like online entrepreneurs, people with a digital business, they're all the way back here, and they know they need to be implementing AI. They're hearing that it's going to take jobs. They're hearing of all these amazing things it can do in terms of automating tasks, in terms of getting better results, making more money. So the skill gap is humongous, and probably even bigger than it was with social media back in the day. So the point is, because you have a big skill gap, means that the transformation from A to B for somebody with no knowledge to somebody with knowledge, or somebody that doesn't have any AI tools to somebody with AI tools, is huge, right? So you can charge more money because the value you can drive, which is essentially, or the size of the transformation, is so big. Size of transformation. And when the transformation is much greater, you can charge more money, right? But it works both ways. When the gap between the transformation, when the gap between skill, if you like, is smaller, you can charge less. And I mean, I experienced this myself. So back when I was selling like a productivity course, my kind of expertise, I suppose you could say, was back here, and my audiences was maybe here, a little bit further on, but the gap, the skill gap, if you like, was quite small. So I kind of struggled to make money from that. The point from all of this is I'm going all in on AI in my agency, right? I'm using Claude Code, I'm using Claude Cowork to try and grow my own channel, to try and grow my own business, but also to, more importantly, help grow the channels and businesses of my clients that I work with. And not everything has been a success. It's been a lot of hard work. I've probably sunk at this point close to 70, 80 hours in the last 3-4 weeks just trying to learn all these AI tools, and it's been watching a lot of tutorials and just experimenting for myself, because I know this is a generational opportunity and it's going to help me reach my income goals. But it's also a really exciting time, right? We've not seen this kind of opportunity since social media. I think it comes around once every decade or so, because the technology is genuinely new, right? That the skill gap is so much bigger, and there's so much opportunity for people that are willing to take that person from A to B. And the more people you can do, the more money, the more revenue you can generate. I think realistically, if we look back, we've only seen this a few times, right? Whenever there's a new piece of technology that comes out. Now it's AI. Before, you could say it was kind of social media. Maybe, in like the 90s, it was websites. In the noughties, anybody with any sort of coding experience, any web design experience. Before that, it was the internet. And before that, I don't even know what back in the 70s. But the kind of pattern repeats itself, where every 10 years we get a new bit of technology and the skill gap resets. And when the skill gap resets, there's so much opportunity for people who are new to the game and early to the game, which if you're watching this video, you definitely are. You definitely are, to take advantage of that. So this is just a reminder to be experimenting, be using Claude as much as possible, be using these AI tools, and know that you are early and there's a lot of opportunity there for those that are willing to take advantage of it and do the work.